everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Fed Flash Face-Off Show, sponsored, of course, by SK Cards. The Fed set is coming out in 2 weeks, so pre-order now. Go to skcardscontact at gmail.com or scan the barcode or the QR code. It's not a barcode. All right. Technology to this. I am Gary Ryan, the Fed East Flash, and I want to thank you so much for joining me once again this week. And we're going to do something a little different. First of all, we've got a new segment that is probably not going to be a regular feature, but every time that it's appropriate, this will come up. It is going to be the big question. And I've got a big question, and this did not come from me initially. Came through an email, and when I read it, it said, that is a big question, and it needs an answer. Do we have an answer right now? Not yet, but hopefully it'll come. All right, also, we're going to break things down. We're going to kind of take a look at, I know it's early, but how competitive are these new divisions going to be? I think very. And we are going to take a preliminary look at the Eastern Conference, the two different divisions, and then after news and notes, we'll have the Western Conference. So we're going to break it up a little bit and kind of make it a little easier for you to find your team, your division. And again, we're not going to really go into depth, but we are going to take a look at who's got a shot at heading for the playoffs, making a deep run this year. We'll take a look. All right, once again, I do appreciate you all tuning in. Let's get right into it right now with...
I don't understand. Can somebody tell me what's going on?
Why? What is it, man?
All right, so here we go. Every now and then, seems like there's going to be some kind of big question that arises. Everybody's like, well, wait a minute. And maybe only a couple people voiced it, but then once they hear one person or the two people voice it, they're like, yeah. That's the way I was when I read an email that was sent to me. The person, I'm going to keep them anonymous, just for the benefit of things for now, but MW sent me an email, and normally we do a mailbag segment, but really this deserves its own little segment. A very poignant question, very good question, and when I read it, it was like, yeah. Duh. So yeah, I want to read this. First of all, yes, wearing my my Columbus Blue Jackets jersey, and first of all, I'll say that we'll take a look later on in news and notes at the new logos and the jerseys that Columbus revealed. They look okay. They look fine, but I'm sorry, nothing is as good as this logo, and I will die on that hill. Also, before I get into this, I've just got to say, more teams need to start putting out jerseys again, the T-shirt jerseys. It was really big a few years ago. I think the last team to do it was the Bobcats, and their stuff looked great. Every jersey I've ever seen has been fantastic. Teams across the FPHL, start putting stuff like this back out. All right, let's get into the question, because it has to do with the salary cap. And I know reaction has been mixed after I did the article a couple weeks ago talking about Fed Next and the cap compliance system and everything like that. A lot of people said, well, that's great if it works. Some people are extremely skeptical, and I can understand that. Other people are hopeful that since we now have new leadership kind of calling the shots for the FPHL, maybe this time around it'll go better. But nonetheless, there's this question, and it was perfect. All right, so hey Gary, hope I didn't miss the mailbag section of this week's video. I know it's late in the week. Following the semi-recent news regarding the new salary cap and reporting avenues, I've been thinking about possible measures the league can or may take if and when teams are found to be circumventing the cap. I rewatched the Fed League Flash, or the Fed Flash face-off. Didn't hear anything specific in regards to this topic, but wanted to bring it up in hopes that you have some additional insight. Not yet, but we'll talk about that. Do you have any idea on the possible penalties the league would enforce? Considering there is no labor union or bargaining agreement, could players potentially be suspended, or would it remain a financial penalty to the teams only? I assume some teams, mostly large market, or those that are relatively cash rich compared to the rest of the league, would be in a much better position to simply absorb the penalties and continue operating as normal if the penalties were only financial. If a team with a wealthy ownership and larger revenue streams could more or less eat the penalty, a la the LA Dodgers in baseball, not sure if you follow baseball, there's a ton of discredit. Yeah, yes. Meanwhile, new and small market teams could be severely crippled by even a single fine. Is it realistic that we see teams conform strictly to the new cap? Obviously, everyone with the means will be getting very creative with their cash and benefits, but how deep can the league actually look? All right. Thank you for your work. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. So MW, again, I'm going to keep the name confidential because of the approach I'm going to take with this. Excellent question. And this is a question that I want to relay and propose to the league, particularly the Committee for League Operations. I know some people who are owners or members of the Board of Governors or members of the various committees with the league, even a couple members of the executive board. I know they watch, and I am thankful for that. I very much appreciate that. All right, so there's the question. So how about it? How are these possible circumventions going to be handled? What are the repercussions? How will they be handed down? Is it something that is going to, again, like MW wrote, is it something that's just going to be a team penalty only, or is it going to affect said player who's getting money under the table? Now, I will say this. There is the very real potential that a few teams already are just going to go ahead and do what's been done in the past. Mainly meaning paying players on the table. All right. In spite of everything that was laid out in the Fed Next write-up. But the point is very clear. I did not mention it. MW asked, Gary, did you say anything? No, I didn't, because when I researched the article and went to do my report on it, nothing along this line was addressed. And I think quite a few people have probably been asking this question in the back of their minds and just haven't voiced it. But yeah, very, very important question. It's a vital question. If the league, as it claims, wants to kind of turn over a new leaf, do things in a better way, in a more modern way, in a more fair way, there has to be some kind of system in place. Now, it is very possible that the league just decided in its release, we're not going to get into that right now. We have everything planned, we have everything figured out, but we're just not going to address this now. And there isn't honestly a rush to do so because nobody's even signed a standard contract yet. Everything is just PTOs. But I do hear things. Things are sent my way. I get word of them. And there is a lot of potential, let's just say that certain players who have agreed to PTOs have done so partially, maybe not fully, but partially because they were promised a little something extra, whether that be just cash or some other kind of benefits. All right. It seems pretty clear that certain players are under the idea and premise that, hey, everything's going to be okay. You know, we'll just keep it on the hush hush. And I'm not going to mention teams or particular names, mainly because, again, right now, nobody has signed a contract. But we are probably, I'd say, a month away from players actually signing their agreement. Now, in the past, when we've had money under the table, Joe Schmo, he gets signed. Let me use as an example somebody that I know did not circumvent the cap last year. Okay, absolutely positive. As a matter of fact, I know they were under the cap. The Watertown Wolves. Let's say that owner Dan Drake and Brett Clark and I believe Cindy Churchill is still the GM. If they get together with Joe Schmo and say, okay, so on the books, we're going to pay you $350 a week. Of course, you get your housing allowances, you get your per diems, all of that stuff that is on the books. In addition, because we know your talent level, Joe Schmo, we're going to give you an extra $300 a week that we're just not going to discuss. That will be given to you by cash. You know, it'll be left in your apartment, and whatever. Okay. Again, I'm using this as a facetious example because, again, I know absolutely for a fact Watertown did not violate the salary cap last year. Okay, so that's why I'm using them. All right, just so nobody feels like I'm singling them out. Okay, there are teams right now that, yeah, it looks like, well, you know, are players coming there or coming back to there, willing to take a big hit financially from what they've earned in the past, whether it's with that team or another team, even if it's in a different league. The potential is very real. The potential is there for there to be some teams that are going to try and attract the the big name players or the highly talented players, simply because, well, we have the resources, we have the means, and we're better off than team X down the road here. And well, too bad for Team X. We're gonna keep doing what we're doing. So this is a very, very important question. And so again, I pose the question to the members of the Board of Governors, the members of the Committee for League Operations, to the Executive Board for the FPHL. How is this going to be handled? Because I don't have the answer. We don't know. We don't see how this is going to work. And what incentive does that give people to file a report through the integrity hotline, through the safe line, If they absolutely know something's going on and they have proof, what inspiration, what motivates a person to go ahead and make the call if relatively nothing is going to be done, or if the result of a cap compliance violation really doesn't have an effect. So how is this going to be done? Is it going to be done? These are all things that we fans want to know. The league, I feel, has had the best intentions with wanting to better itself and operate better, more smoothly, and be more transparent with us fans, and giving us information and communicating with us clearly. But what of this? That's the question. And so that's how we're going to leave things. We just kind of leave things open-ended. Again, thank you so much to MW for sending in that question, because it is a question that needs to be asked. And so I, in turn, have used the YouTube medium and am extending that question out to the appropriate people of the FPHL. What say you, as we would say in Lord of the Rings? Okay, so I think that's about all we can really say about the big question. All right, so we are going to take a look right now at the Eastern Conference, and not really doing predictions because it's too early. We don't even have full rosters for the teams. Nobody's actually signed yet. It's just PTOs. And so, but I just kind of want to get a general idea based off of who has signed PTOs to this point, how competitive the divisions will be. As I look at things, and again, we're going to break down the Eastern Conference here, but I look at all 8 teams, and well, Motor City doesn't count because they didn't play last year, but the teams that are back, I really feel like they're going to be better than they were last year. Not necessarily, they're going to win 10 extra games or anything like that, but I think the quality overall through the rosters, up and down, is going to be a lot better this year. So it's going to be tough. The only prediction I have already made, and I'm sticking to it even with incomplete rosters, is I really don't believe you're going to see any one team in the league win more than, say, 40 games. Now, Binghamton won 49 last year, and 49 the year before. When Danbury won, I believe they had 42 or 43 wins overall, if I remember correctly. I don't think anybody's going to get that high, because I think it's going to be tougher day in and day out with the opposition. All right, so just looking at things, let's start off with the Atlantic Division, and I'm going to go through this alphabetically in each division. So there's no favoritism or bias here per se. Okay, looking first at Binghamton Black Bears, returning back as champs. Their lineup is going to look a lot different this year. A lot more true rookies on the team. There will be a few returnees. Already we have CJ Stubbs, Yvonne Bondarenko, Zach Sirota coming back. These rookies that have been drafted, many of them are very highly touted. I think this is going to be a high-scoring team again. Now, the biggest question mark in my mind is the defense. One of the hallmarks for Binghamton the last few years has been how stellar defensively they were. They very, very seldom did they allow 35 shots against in a game. They did a great job back checking and physical play defensively, but a lot of those defensive stalwarts are now gone, either retired or moved on to other opportunities, or playing with a new team. So that is really going to be the key. Now, Dominic Tomei, goaltender of the year last year, he may or may not return. He is trying to win a spot with the Roanoke Rail Yard Dogs. He's going to have competition. I believe there's 4 goaltenders in camp, but he might win a job. And if that's so, well, Binghamton does have a couple of rookie goaltenders that they signed. Brad Sherwood always drafts or scouts very well. So can't say draft, but he scouts very well. And so when he recruits and signs players, they turn out pretty good. But yeah, there's a lot of question marks. Now, Blue Ridge, they look so far to be pretty similar to last year. I felt like last year they took a little bit of a step above where they were the year before. I feel they're going to take another step again this year. Returning up front, 3 of the big scorers are going to be Demid Padrazov, Nikita Kozarev, and Nick Stuckless. They already have 9 forwards returning that are back in the fold. And then on the back end, you have Robin Erickson, you have Dan Klenecki back. Overall, there's 5 returning defensemen. So, yeah, there's 14 players already back from last year. And this was a team that ended up 3rd in the Empire. And really, over the last half of the season, they really, really played well. They had struggled early, but then they kind of got everything figured out and made a great charge into the playoffs and played Port Huron extremely tough. Now, their question right now, they don't have a goalie on the roster. It's early. Max Macchioni is currently on the roster for the ECHL's Jacksonville Icemen. So, they're looking for goalies. Goalies are out there. They're going to find a goalie. They are right now the most experienced team in the Atlantic Division up to this point. And you always have a very well-prepared team when it's coached by Wojciech Zemlika. So we'll see what happens, but Blue Ridge, I think, is looking like one of the better teams in the Eastern Division. Danbury, they have some players returning. Now, not returning per se, but Kyle Heitzner, he has signed his PTO with Danbury. He was acquired very, very late in the year. Did not play with Danbury last year, but now he's going to get the opportunity. And that's great because they need someone to provide offense along with Alexander Rubtsov. Rubtsov had a great year last year. One player I am very curious to watch and see this year is Grady Friedman. He only played a few games last year. He played 9 games at the end of the year. He came on at the end of the year and looked fantastic. I believe he had 7 points in 9 games. Very speedy, and he's got some good size too. So he's going to be somebody that opposing teams have got to watch out for. On the back end, you do have some returnees like Caden Fennell, Greg Sosinski, and Tukane. I think one key player that Danbury had last year that they have to bring back is Eli Rivers. So far, no word on it, but it's early. They already have an established tandem in goal, Kyle Penton and Aiden Pierce. Penton was really, really underestimated last year. Not by me, but he kind of flew under a lot of people's radar. Penton's stats last year were better than Connor McCollum's stats the year before in terms of save percentage and the goals against. Less wins, but the team on the whole had less wins than they did the year before. But Penton was solid, and Pierce really seemed to find himself right at the end of the year. Last couple of outings he had were fantastic. Will Johnny Ruiz be back? Well, we don't know. He is skating. He has been skating for quite some time. I hope so. I really, really do. There is no other person in the FPHL, in my opinion, that deserves the chance to be out there than Johnny Ruiz. So he's still the heart and soul of the team. And there's a reason why at the end of the year he was obviously not able to skate or play, but he was traveling with the team. He was in the arena. He was watching from the stands, and he's still the guy in Danbury, and I really, really hope that he's able to get back. Fingers crossed. Last team in the division, the Twin City Thunderbirds. Of course, they had change at head coach. John Butita, he's no rookie as far as coaching. He was an assistant coach the last 3 seasons for Coach Harrison. So coaching is not new to him. Obviously, he won't be on the ice playing, but already there's players coming into the fold. You have Zach White, you have Roman Kramer, you have Kason Gallant, and well, right now you have Gus Ford. It's interesting that as of right now, Gus Ford has signed a PTO with the Thunderbirds. He has not signed a PTO with PD to this point. PD, of course, holds his SP rights. So I think that's really interesting. I think the Thunderbirds are going to be a little bit more potent this year than they were last. I think they're going to have better depth up front. And I think they're going to be deeper on the defensive end, too. Defense, they struggled with quite a bit last year. And already, they've got Joey Colatarsi, they have Johansson, they have Sam Holy, they have Connor Craig, they have Yuri Pastuka. So they have some really good people on the back end. Of course, they just traded James Farmer, but coming in is Zach Papapetros. If he signs PTO with the team, Papapetros is a very good player. Very quiet. He doesn't get a lot of recognition, but stay-at-home defensemen, basically, if you're not hearing their name, but the team's performing well, then that player is doing their job and doing it very well. They're not gonna make the headlines, but they are an integral part of the team. Okay, don't know about Boris Babic, if he's going to be back, but right now they do have Gil Leland, who they're very high on, and they have Purdy coming back as well. You got a new coach, a mixture of vets and rookies. Still a little bit of a question mark on the goalie situation, but I think they already look better than they did last year. And the question is, will Gus Ford play? That would be huge. Okay, so with the Atlantic Division, right now, this is the closest thing I'm going to get to a prediction. Right now, if I had to pick who I think is going to win the division, I would give a slight edge right now to the Blue Ridge Bobcats. But again, puck's not getting dropped for another 2 months, so we'll have to wait and see. Let's go to the Great Lakes Division and move it along because getting bogged down a little bit. My apologies. All right, so Indiana. Remember, they didn't finish last year. They ended up kind of picking things up towards the end of the year. They got some key wins here and there and were able to jump over Watertown and finish 6th place in the Empire Division after a really, 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 really shaky start before Everett Thompson took the reins. Thompson made a world of difference with this club. The first few games, this team would have been, easily, possibly one of the worst all time in the Fed. But Everett Thompson came in and implemented a system, and the players bought in. And the team, last 30 games, they were pretty decent. They were competitive. They were a tough team to play against, even though they didn't pick up a ton of wins. Nobody wanted to play Indiana because they knew it was going to be a tough game. You've got Denver Craig, you got Corey Cunningham, you got Nolan Dawson, Denny Zajac is now a member of the Sentinels. So there's more depth at forward. Question mark right now because he hasn't signed to this point. Will Bodanchenko be back? He would be huge. He's probably the most talented offensive guy that they have at their disposal. So hopefully he signs. On the back end, they're a lot more stable, a lot more steady. You got Seth Bacon, you got Zach Ross, you got Ian McDonald that came from Watertown. McDonald had a decent year last year. So again, defensively, they're going to be sound. Plus, they've got their goaltending tandem of John Werber and Cooper Olson. Olson started, right towards the end of the year, and looked like he kind of had to get his feet under him. But I think by now, I think he will. So they're deeper. And their biggest issue last year was scoring. They were dead last in the league offensively. If they can get a couple more good scorers, get some more depth scoring, this could be a very tough team to play against. You cannot sleep on the Sentinels. All right, Motor City, of course, they are back after a year of dormancy, and they're looking all right. They're looking all right. They've got people coming back like Corey Checo. You got Sam Gagnon. You got both Connor and Avery Smith. No relations, but Connor is back to play after a couple years off, and Avery Smith. He really was the heart and soul of the Rockers the last year they played. And so having him back is huge. Um, you got Drew Welsh as well. Welsh is a very talented player. He's bounced around a little bit, and I don't think he's been implemented properly in the team's game plans. For the teams that he's dressed for. I think he could surprise a lot of people. On the back end, you're going to have Dakota Bond coming back. He was one of the best defensive men in the league the 2 years he played for the Binghamton Black Bears. Now he's bringing his talents to Motor City. You've got Doug Blaisdell back. You've got Josh Colton. Thinking he might end up being the captain. I don't know. We'll see. Grant Bondi they just acquired from Twin City. This team's a lot better defensively than they were before. Now the question mark is, and a lot of Rockers fans have already said this. The jury's kind of out on Ricardo Gonzalez and Bryn Sommerfeld. If they pick up somebody else, especially if somebody can really push Ricardo to play like he did a couple of years ago. Last year was a rough year for Gonzalez, but if he could play kind of like what he did the year before, yeah, could be some surprises. Obviously, they still need a coach. They need a little bit of a goalie depth, I think, and they need an on-ice leader. They might already have him in Josh Colton. Colton's been with the Rockers from the beginning. So we'll see how things go. But I think they already have two solid lines. You just got to get a coach. The Port Huron Prowlers. There's not going to be many surprises with this team. We already know the way they play, who's playing for them. They're going to look very, very similar to how they looked last year on the ice. Of course, you got Matt Graham, you got Jamie Bussell, you've got Reggie Millette, you've got Lucas Lackney, Bobby Price, and now you've added Houston Wilson. Port Huron, they've always emphasized defense first, team defense first, which I think is a good way to play. But sometimes I feel like they kind of gave up on some opportunities that they could have had offensively. I think they're going to be a little bit better offensively this year. They've got talent. Now, one key, because he hasn't signed yet, if you get Grayson Dietrich back, he just came on, right at the end of the year, a college graduate. If he comes in for a full season, look out. Dietrich, he's an X factor kind of player. And if they can get him back, that would be huge. On the back end, you've got some familiar faces: Alex Johnson, Austin Federle, Timothy Organ, Brett Lockhart. Again, no surprises. And the thing is, these guys are really, really good as a unit and individually as well. So there you go. You have Reed Cooper back. Right now, you need a backup. You need somebody to back Cooper up. Unfortunately, Cooper can't play 56 games a year. Well, maybe he can. He is easily one of the top 3 goaltenders in the FPHL. No doubt about it. So the question is, who's going to spell him to give him a rest every now and then? They got to find somebody. Is Brockway going to be back in a position of leadership? He kind of disappeared last third of the year last year. Is he going to kind of take charge and be a leader on the ice? That's a question. Definitely going to see more scoring out of this team, and defensively, they're already excellent. So Port Huron, okay, and Watertown. this is not last year's Watertown, not by a long shot. First of all, you got Brett Clark in there. Brett Clark is one of these people, as coach, that just knows how to get the most out of players. So Watertown, just by having Clark there, Watertown is already better than they were last year. But the roster has been getting tweaked and shuffled, and new people being brought in. Of course, you have one familiar face back that was very sorely missed last year, and Trevor Lord. I think he's going to be very comfortable being back home. There's a couple of players that just, it's like they just belong in Watertown. Trevor Lord's one of them. Hunter Hall, he was the first player to sign a PTO. He's eager to get back. He had a decent year last year. Carter Thornton, again, back with the Wolves. I think they need to sign more depth offensively. If they have two solid lines going in the camp, and then you can kind of tweak things and figure out who's going to be on your third line, I think they're going to be okay. On the back end, you have Adam Zimmerman, you have Josh LaBelle now back with the Wolves. This will be his second time with the Wolves. You have Dustin Henning, just 7 more games, and he becomes Iron Man leader. He's still out there. He's still playing well. He's still hitting hard. He's still skating hard. He's not an old man, even though by hockey standards he is an old man. But he's still younger than I am. So anyway, this year you have Xavier Abdella joining the forces. So that's an excellent pickup for Watertown. We don't know exactly what the goaltending situation is going to be, but they do have the rights to both Brendan Colgan and Anthony Schrum. So if both of those guys are the tandem, that's a solid tandem, a really solid goaltending tandem. And goaltending has been an area that Watertown has struggled over the last couple of years. Schrum's proven himself. Colgan definitely has proven himself, and Colgan's number 2 in all time in wins in the FPHL. So we'll see what happens there. So, this is the third time Brett Clark is back with the Wolves. And the Wolves had their most successful years with Clark in the helm. So, they're going to be tough. They're going to be tough. If I, again, had to pick somebody right now, who I think is probably going to win the division, I would say Port Huron. Port Huron has been getting better and better and better year by year. And last year, they were right there. That one game that they won against Binghamton in the playoffs, they dominated that game. I was there. I watched it. And, I told Port Huron fans that I met after the game, I said, you really took it to Binghamton. That was amazing. Port Huron's going to be a real tough cookie to crack for the other teams in the Feds. So I'd give them the edge. All right. So anyway, that's our look at, just to give you an idea how tough it's going to be. Whoever ends up in the playoff spots at the end of the year, they'll have earned it, believe you me. Nobody is sneaking into the playoffs this year. Nobody's just kind of waltzing in. Everyone is going to really have to earn that spot. So it's going to be a good year. So anyway, we looked at the East. Later on, we'll look at the West. Coming later this month from SK Cards, The Fed 2nd edition. SK Cards is an independent trading card manufacturer right here in the United States. Being released on August 31st is their 2nd edition of Fed trading cards with over 30 players, referees, and even a GM included in the upcoming set. you can pre-order 3 different options, including $5 retail packs, hobby boxes with a guaranteed autograph card, and the complete base set. You can also go to Facebook or Instagram to check out who the instant player is as well. Visit SK Cards on Facebook and Instagram, contact them today, and place your order before they sell out. And make sure to use the promo code FLASH at checkout to support the Fed Flash Face-Off. Okay, so before we start news and notes, just wanted to show you my new board well, the board is not new, but a lot of the team logos are, all the team magnets. So when we get to this fall and I'm doing videos for game recaps, you'll see all of these nice logos prominently featured, including Oceanside, the purple and green moccasins, and the redone River Dragons logo. So, yep, we're finally up to date. So, all right, let me pause this for a second. All right, so that's better. Okay, I think I'm going to do what I did last week, kind of a team-by-team rapid-fire type of thing. Other than signings, there's really not a whole lot going on. There's a couple of minor things, which we'll talk about. Of course, there were some pretty significant trades over the last week. All right, let's start off with the Baton Rouge Zydeco. A lot of signings. Actually, the couple of news items get taken care of with the first 2 teams. Okay, so we had a lot of PTOs signed for the Kingfish, including Dmitry Kuznetsov. Yep, after playing with Danbury last year, he goes back to Baton Rouge and signs there. Tyler Rollo, who's played in the SPHL, he signed. And of course, a couple of the goaltenders also signed. Both Rahul Sharma and Ed Coffey signed their PTOs, as well as the big man. Yep. Caleb Melanson, he is coming back to Baton Rouge as well. And I know he is a big fan favorite in Red Stick City. So, yeah, quite a few significant signings. They also signed some other players as well, but I'm just focusing on some of the more recognizable names, some of the personalities that we've grown accustomed to seeing over the last couple of years. In news, there is I don't know if you call it a power struggle or not, but there is an attempt by the City Tourism Board to gain control over the operation of the Raising Cane's River Center. Now, the name is just, the sponsor's name, but the facility is owned privately. Now it looks like the City Tourism Board is looking to gain control of operations, and a piece that was done by a couple of the local TV news stations talked about having a lot more events at the River Center, not just hockey, but concerts and conventions and whatnot than what they have right now. So we'll see how that develops. That's not really going to have any kind of an effect or bearing on the Kingfish, with the possible exception of not this coming year, but the year after. There may not be as many prime dates to select to have have Kingfish games. Old habits die hard. So we'll have to see how things develop with that, but it's definitely something that we'll keep an eye on. All right, turning our focus to the Binghamton Black Bears, they had some arena-related news themselves. The team agreed to a renewal of the lease agreement with the Division's Veterans Memorial Arena for another 3 years. So now they're entering the last year of the old agreement that's tacked on. So now the Binghamton Black Bears are guaranteed to have a home until the 2030 season. All right, let's go down to Danbury. Danbury, they've been signing some players, a couple of returnees, and of note, Jordan Crom is back, as well as Eli Rivers. And I really felt like Rivers was a very, very important person for the Hat Tricks to sign for this upcoming year. So now you've got three pretty good scorers that you can either put on one line or intermix in a couple different lines. But yeah, Rivers, he had a really good season with the Hat Tricks last year. And so, yep, he is coming back. All right, looking at the Fresno Falcons. They had three significant PTO signings, including Aaron Huffnagel, who played in the SP last year, won a cup with the Evansville Thunderbolts. Coming back after a year off from the Fed, even though I guess he was playing up in Canada, Catlin Big Snake, excuse me. Yes, that's his real name, Catlin Big Snake. He will be coming back and playing for Fresno. A couple of years ago, he played about the first third of the season with the Monroe Moccasins. But yeah, he will be back to provide some much needed toughness. Every team needs that. They need a couple guys to, they're going to be available to lay down the law, so to speak. Now, also, poor Nicholas McGill Diaz, he bounced around the league without sticking with anybody quite a bit this last off season. But finally, he landed in Fresno via a couple of trades, and now he has signed his PTO. So he has agreed if he is not playing in the SPHL, he will be coming to Fresno. He has signed that PTO. Okay, so that was quite a significant move there. Indiana, they were very busy. The Sentinels kept themselves very active. Got a couple of trades done. First of all, the trade with the Topeka Scarecrows. They got Aldiar Nurlan, who ended up having to call the seasons quits kind of early last year. He had to go back to Russia because of visa issues. But he is now a member of the Indiana Sentinels. Going the other way, going to Topeka, the Sentinels gave the Scarecrows Zach Ross, defenseman Zach Ross. There will be a player to be named later, which probably will not be named until late September, early October. And also financial considerations. So it was kind of a three-piece for one deal, but Nerland has great offensive upside, and he could very well be the Sentinels' top scorer for this year. The other trade that Indiana was involved in is they got Ross Bartlett from the Port Huron Prowlers for cash. Bartlett, he's going to be a very welcome piece as well to the Sentinels roster. Now, signing PTOs this week, first of all, backup goaltender Cooper Olson, he signed his PTO, as did Ben Stefanini and Aaron Shaheen. So, Indiana's going to be a lot more experienced this next year than they were the previous year. But yeah, they're making trades, they're signing players. They're going to be a lot better this year. They're going to be a very competitive team. Okay, going to the Mid-South Monarchs. They added a goaltender, Wyatt Freelander. Yep, it's another it's another former Binghamton Black Bear going to Mid-South. And so, yeah, now that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Black Bears on the Mid-South Monarchs roster. So chemistry is not going to be an issue in Mid-South this next year. All right, moving on. The Minnesota Northern Lights, again, not the Minnesota North Stars that I accidentally said last week. They signed three Fed regulars, I guess you could say. Declan Conway, Brad Ryder, and Chris Corrigan all signed their PTOs with the Northern Lights. Now, the interesting thing about all three is all three of those players have spent time with the Motor City Rockers. So that's kind of an interesting thing. So these guys, they're familiar with each other, and that'll be a good building block for the Northern Lights. I really felt like they needed some veteran presence, and now they've got it. So very, very good, significant signings by the Northern Lights. Monroe, they added defenseman Corson Green. Green had a very stellar year last year. Not a whole lot of points, but he's a stay-at-home guy, and he allows a defensive partner or his other forwards to move the puck up, and he handles staying at home, making sure his end is cleared out, and he's helping out his goaltender. Every team needs a stay-at-home defenseman to truly be successful, and Corson Green is the guy for Monroe. Motor City, we mentioned Motor City before, and they have themselves a new signee, and that is Brandon Lucchese. Played with the Biloxi Breakers most of the year last year. So Lucchese coming back, and this time playing in Michigan. All right, let's go on. Let's go down to the Stockton Thunder. They've had, 5 PTO signings. And it's really kind of funny because earlier I recorded, no, you haven't seen it yet. If you're watching this whole thing in order, I know a couple of you do. Haven't talked about the Thunder yet and how I looked at their prospects potentially for this upcoming year. I mentioned in that segment, because I pre-recorded it, that Stockton, I felt like they had a lot of holes to fill. Well, they have filled those holes. So if you're going forward to that segment, you can disregard what I say there. If you watched that first and came back to here, well, now here's your adjustment. 5 PTO signings. Matt Clark played with the Evansville Thunderbolts as well. Defenseman Matt Clark. Also, Peter Panicek, he signed his PTO. Josh Slagers, who played a good chunk of last year with the Blue Ridge Bobcats, he signed, as did Matt Garcia, defenseman Matt Garcia, and Chris Mott. I really feel like Garcia is one of those defensemen that unfortunately gets overlooked, and he's a really good D-man. So, Matt Clark and Garcia plus Josh Slagers. So, 3 guys on the back end that they have signed. And things are looking a little bit better now for the Stockton Thunder. All right, let's go on to the Twin City Thunderbirds because, wow, they made some headlines this last week with a couple of just crazy trades. Both trades happened within a day of each other. First of all, they made a 4-for-1 deal with the Watertown Wolves. They sent James Farmer, defenseman James Farmer, and future considerations. Haven't heard yet exactly what the terms of those future considerations are, but they sent those two to the Watertown Wolves, and the Wolves in return gave the Thunderbirds Zach Papapetros. Initially, it was Nicholas Miguel Diaz, Brad Ryder, and Chris Corrigan. Okay, so 4 for 1. Now, those 3 players, Nicholas Miguel Diaz, Brad Ryder, and Chris Corrigan, then got flipped to the Minnesota Northern Lights. And of course, all 3 signed with the Northern Lights. Meanwhile, Zach Papapetros signed his PTO with the Thunderbirds. Thunderbirds are looking pretty darn solid on defense for this year. On paper, they've already got 5 or 6 really good, experienced guys, so that's good. They also acquired, the Thunderbirds, that is, acquired Justin Jamer from Oceanside. Oceanside gets future considerations. Also signing a PTO was Ashton Collazo, who played with the Indiana Sentinels this last year. The Thunderbirds getting their roster put together. Finally, Watertown. We mentioned Watertown getting James Farmer in the trade with the Thunderbirds. Also, Donovan Powell signed his PTO. The Watertown Wolves had obtained Powell from the Indiana Sentinels last week. So Powell signed his contract, or his PTO, and there's a good forward to throw into the mix for the Watertown attack. What I did not mention with the Thunderbirds, by the way, when they made the trade with the couple of players of the Minnesota Northern Lights, they also sent the Northern Lights TJ Prexler, and Jordan Rosenbaum came from Minnesota down to Twin City. So there's another defenseman that Twin City potentially has on their roster. So there you go. There's a lot of stuff going on. And there's just a little bit more for me to finish as far as recording. We're going to go right now into looking at the Western Division. How competitive is it going to be? Very. And then we'll wrap things up. Alrighty then, we've done the East, the Eastern Conference. Now we'll do the Western Conference. And we're going to start with the Delta Division, like I did with the Eastern Conference. Just going to go through each division, just going to go through the team order alphabetically. So there we go. Okay, so our first team in the Delta Division that we'll be looking at today is the Baton Rouge Kingfish. Yes, the Kingfish name is back. And so let's go through this a little bit. Initially, I was pretty concerned when it seemed like slightly before and slightly after the announcing of the name and the logo. I got a little concerned when the only players you saw signing PTOs were former Zydeco players. And not that there's anything wrong with the players, all right? But obviously the Zydeco struggled mightily last year. And so it was a little concerning. It's like, well, are you just going to kind of set yourself up for the same result? Well, fortunately, they have added a lot of talent outside of the Zydecos, the Zydeco players that were there. But anyway, so a lot of forwards that you're familiar with, like Scott Chirac and Dmitry Kuznetsov is back, and Tyler Larwood, and Jake Cox, so on and so forth. Players that the fan base is going to be very familiar with, that they've developed a very good relationship with. Obviously, the quality of the people never an issue. Baton Rouge. There's been a real good tie with the players in Baton Rouge and the community, more so than other teams. So that's always been very good to see. Now, I will say this, as far as last year, Zydeco's problem was not team defense. Their team defense was pretty good. They did not give up a ton of goals. Obviously, they gave up more goals than they scored, but that's the thing. Scoring was really the big issue last year. Now, to that end, one thing that the Zydeco decided to change was, well, let's get some depth at goalie. Let's at the goaltending spot. Let's get some other people in. Now, as of the beginning of this last week, they had 6 goaltenders on the roster. Just to name them, you had Ed Coffey, you have Raul Sharma, you have Noah Geisbrecht, who is currently playing in Australia. You had William Lavalier, Bailey Stevens, and Sean Green. My goodness, no. Sean Green, baseball player. Connor Green, hockey player. All right, so Green is already looking at moving to the SP. So he has not been active in Baton Rouge for quite some time. And William Lavalier is trying out an ECHL camp. So that leaves you with 4. But Noah Geisbrecht, I believe, is a pretty good signing. And as I said, he's over in Australia and keeping in game shape. Last time I checked, I believe Geisbrecht was 3rd or 4th in save percentage in the league, and his goals against was actually pretty good too. So it's kind of like the Fed. It's a wide open league, a lot of scoring, not a whole ton of defense. Nonetheless, so I think they've upgraded at goaltender. The problem is they still haven't addressed the core issue they've had for really the last 4 years now, and that is a lack of a proven scorer, somebody who can get you 30 to 35 goals per year. They just don't have that yet. Fortunately, there's still time to remedy that situation, and I hope they do. So we will see. Okay, we're going to move on to the Columbus River Dragons. Yep, new logo. And now, one thing you have to say about the River Dragons, they have never had a losing season. In other words, more losses than wins. It's always been more wins than losses, and that is a testament to the coaching and leadership of Jerome Bouchard. One of the best coaches in minor league hockey, in my opinion, and I have heard many other people say the same thing. So anyway, looking at their forward group, it's pretty strong. They've added Carson Baptiste, Ty Barrow. We all know what he did last year. He had a phenomenal season. He was the FPHL Player of the Year last year. Ryan Hunter, the power play expert. You have Kyle Moore, Alex Storjahan, Ryan Galvin. This team has a lot of depth up front. So, and in the back end, they've added Rasmus Asp. They have Nathan Balkwill. They have Della Savita, should he not choose to play in the SPHL. Lara Patakin, They have Brody Thornton, Kirk Underwood. They have a lot of depth at all positions. And then in goal, of course, you've got Trevor Babin, and you also have this new rookie, Douglas Wakeland. And there is a lot of well-deserved hype coming in ahead of Wakeland's showing up in Columbus. So, yeah, look for Wakeland this year. I think he's going to be one of those rookies that really grabs the attention of a lot of people. And wow, this guy is good. So, really looking forward to seeing him. Again, this team has never had a losing season, and a lot of that is coaching. A lot of that is team depth. They've always been very deep at all positions. And again, that's also Jerome Bichard's work with recruiting and bringing people in. He knows the type of people he's looking for when he has a gap in the lineup developed because of someone's absence. He knows how to fill it and who to fill it with. So it's just a gift that Bichard has. So Columbus, I think, is going to be very, very tough again this year. Moving on to the Mid-South Monarchs. This is a team that is getting built to win right off the bat. They are not going to be struggling to win games. You got Tyson Kirkby, you've got Joetten Blacksmith, you've got Darian Benchich, you got Lucas Pekarchik, you got Jacob Shankar, you have Adrian Chance. There's 2 lines worth of forwards right there that are going to complement each other very well on the ice. They're going to, you can't just shut down one guy. You've got to shut down several guys. The Monarchs are going to be able to score a lot of goals. On the back end, they've got Cam Cervoni, they've got Brody Duncan, they've got Ivan Panovanov, and then Zach Shankar. He's also playing in Australia. Just saw video footage of him a couple days ago of him in a fight, and he's a strong guy. He's a strong guy. So anyway, you got a lot of depth, and then you got to look at goaltending position. Right now, they only have one goaltender signed, and that is Thomas Napier, who played with the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins for a season and a half. Yeah, that's AHL. So they've got an experienced pro coming in at goaltender. So, I think it's pretty much safe to say that Napier is going to be the number 1 guy in Mid-South. So there's not many weaknesses that you can find on this team, at least on paper right now. Of course, we're still months away, a couple months away from the puck dropping. We're still at least a month away for players actually signing their actual contract. But right now, I'd say Mid-South is looking to be in a pretty good position. I think they're going to be very similar to what Topeka was last year. Topeka, they built everything right off the bat to compete, to make the playoffs, to go deep. Unfortunately, they didn't have the opportunity to go deep in the playoffs, but what I'm saying is that Topeka was a winning team right off the bat. So I see a lot of that in Mid-South as well this year. And then you have Monroe, the Moccasins, in their new uniforms. And say what you will about the uniforms, Sean Johnson from Benchminer said it best. It's like, it's merchandise that people are going to buy. And that is one of the ways that a minor league franchise sustains itself is merchandise sales. So there you go. Whether you like it or you don't, it doesn't matter. It's going to sell. And so good on the Moccasins with that. good on the Moccasins as far as what it looks like they're going to probably be at the start of the season. Right now, they have quite a few returnees coming back from a team that won 18 games in a row, finished in second place, a very close second to Athens, and made a big push in the playoffs. Fell short, but played well, and the team's going to look very similar. From what I've heard, they are going to have as many as 15 players returning from last year's squad. You add the experience um, to the talent, and you can go far. So Andrew Ballant, he's back. Jared Christie, Christie was almost my choice for Rookie of the Year last year. Fell just short, but I think he's going to have an even better year this next year. Yanni Lariakos has already said, I'm in, I'm coming back. He is healed up from his surgery that he had this last spring, and he's ready to go. Tucker Scantlebury's back, and again, say what you will about Scantlebury, he's very effective at what he does, and it makes the rest of the team better. On the back end, of course, the captain, Frank Schumacher, is coming back, and that's huge. That's huge. I think Schumacher felt like he had unfinished business from last year. Colton Gherkin has re-signed. He joined the team late last year, as did Jamie Dorsey. And so it's going to be a deep group behind the blue line. They haven't signed a goaltender yet. I'm expecting Ty Masternak to come back. I don't know about the other two, but at this point, from what I have heard, Masternak will be back. And let's see, who else that they're able to sign and or recruit. So, I think with the fact that so many players are coming back and they played so well last year, I think you have to give a little bit of an edge to Monroe at this point. Again, this is all just on paper. It's all hypothetical. We've got to play the games, and it's a little while before we get to play those games. So very early yet. Moving on to the Frontier Division. This is an interesting division, as you have 4 of the 5 teams are expansion teams. And so that's going to be very, very interesting, quite an interesting dynamic. Let's start off with Fresno. All right. This is already a star-studded lineup on paper. Not sure how many of these players are going to stay in the Fed. Some may look for opportunities in the SPHL or the ECHL, or they may choose to play in Fresno. These players, many of these players have signed their PTOs, so that's a good sign from Fresno's perspective. Okay, I'm if I'm in the Fed, I'm on board with Fresno. Of course, you have Austin Albrecht. He was the Falcons' first pick in the draft. You have Alexander Jemayev. You have Garrett Milan. Skate Scaldi adds a little bit of grit. And then you have Aaron Huffnagel, who's played quite a bit in the SP. Won a championship in Evansville. So it's a deep group, and many names recognizable by a lot of fans of Single A. On the back end, you have Kyle Powell, you have Andrew Stacy, you have Carson Vance come into play for Fresno, and Brandon Walker. He had an excellent season last year. And then you look at the goaltending position. You have Austin Rodebush. Here's the guy who is the all-time wins leader in SPHL history. So he's no slouch. You also have Dyson Skinner. Skinner has played very well at this level. And then they added rookie Nicholas Grabko, another goaltender with a lot of, I feel, well-deserved hype and a lot of expectations on him. I think he will perform very well at this level. So really, the main thing with Fresno is the unknown factor. How many of these guys are going to be in the Fed and actually play with Fresno? I mean, they've got the rights to a lot of players, but are they going to commit to Fresno? Are they going to commit for being there the whole year? Only time will tell. We won't know until we actually get to the start of the season and the players personally figure things out. We don't know. So this could be a hit or a miss for Fresno. Just again, we don't have a lot of clarity at this point in time. As we get closer to the beginning of the season, I think things will become a lot clearer. All right, switching focus to the Minnesota Northern Lights, not the North Stars, like I said last week. Oh, that's one of the Freudian slips. And, I didn't even catch that until I was doing my video editing. And it's like, I said, what? So that's why I did the purple North Stars logo and everything. But no, it's the Northern Lights. There's a lot of questions right now in that the players that they drafted in the expansion draft, there hasn't been a signing as far as a PTO from that group other than Lucas Robinson. So here's another team that there's a lot of questions. Well, who's going to be on the ice when camp starts? They're still finding things out. Now they're signing a lot of players that are very young, very talented, but so far at this level, unproven. Just going through some names. Of course, Noah Robinson, no relation to Lucas Robinson. He signed his PTO. Jacob Wolf, I know, is very excited about joining the team and being a part of starting things up in Minnesota. Talked to him shortly after he signed his PTO via text, and yeah, he's ready. He's ready to go. He's like, drop the puck now. I couldn't agree more. A youngster they have from Russia, Daniil Piatin. He looks pretty exciting. He's played in the VHL, which is the second highest league in Russia. It's one step below the KHL. We know the KHL, the Gagarin Cup and all. He's a welcome presence. Now, with the defense right now, there's not many that have signed on. They have a lot of forwards, and right now, I believe the only defenseman they have signed to PTO is Lucas Robinson. They did have Jordan Rosenbaum as well, but they just traded him to Twin City Thunderbirds. So here's the question: Austin Pickford, who was drafted, is he going to sign? What about Timur Rasilov? Last I knew, Rasilov was planning on retiring, but it's a long summer. Things can change in that department. Connor Mullen. Connor Mullen's he's been around the Fed the last couple of years and has been a very steady player. So we'll see. Now, the goaltending situation. On paper, again, it looks great. We don't know yet who's going to be there because neither Chris Kerr nor Bailey Huber, who I think are both excellent goaltenders, have signed their PTOs. So there's a big question mark. I think this could be a very tough year for the Northern Lights as they start things off. A lot of it depends on who signs the PTOs. Do some of those draft picks say, yep, I'm in, especially at the goaltending position? If Kerr and Huber are both signed and both there, I think this team is going to be fairly competitive, but if they don't, it could be a rough year. Again, too early to really tell how things are going to play out. Okay, the Oceanside Shock, and that seems a little strange to say just because I'm not familiar with it. It's something new, and kind of gotta acclimate to it a little bit. They've got an interesting roster. They have a very intriguing roster, a mixture of very young players and proven established players. So, and they have Craig Carlisle as their head coach. Of course, his father, Randy Carlisle, who has been very successful as a player and a coach in the NHL. He is going to be working as the assistant coach and a senior advisor. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, it's going to be really interesting. First of all, you have Tyler Maxwell. He was one of the big signings, the big name signings. He's been very successful at this level for quite some time. Zach Pamelayan, he's joined the forward group. You have Brett Menton. There's another big name signing. It kind of came out of the blue. It's like, wow, really? Okay. And I'll mention Isaac Frankel, who came over from Monroe, had a small sampling size, of his time in Monroe. Of course, he joined as a collegiate rookie, but when he was out in the ice, he really impressed. He played very, very well, and he could be an X factor kind of guy. Then on the defense, you have Matt O'Day. What more can you say? If you're familiar with Single A and the SPHL, Matt O'Day has been one of the best defensivemen on that level for a number of years, and now he is committed to playing in Oceanside and mentoring the young players and having a leadership role on the ice. So that was huge. You also have Lester Brown. He's been around the Fed for, my goodness, I think since 2014. I think that was his first year, 2014 or 2015. It's been a while. So Brown has a lot of experience. And then you have big Brian Gowan, all 6'7" of him. Yep, big dude. And so we will see how things shape up. But yeah, it's really intriguing, this bunch of younger players. And then in goal, you have Helgi Thor Iverson, another highly touted goalie who's had a lot of success in Europe. Now he's playing for Oceanside. Backing him up, Jack Hudek. You know who Jack Hudek is. You've seen his on the spot sports videos. You've seen him working with various teams around the Fed, working in the APHL. So yeah, Hudek is going to be in the crease for the Oceanside Shock. So this is kind of an untested bunch with the new guys, but then you have those leaders, those veterans that are going to go a long way in kind of helping to lead the club forward. I think they're kind of half and half. I think that's a good blend for a team starting off. Okay, the Stockton Thunder, a bit of an enigma in my mind, in that they made a lot of noise when the draft happened, when the expansion draft happened. They went very heavily focused on sound defense, team defense, picked up some really good players, and they've made some deals, and the makeup of the changes of the team has changed, and they haven't signed a whole lot of other PTOs. As I am recording this, they have 13 players listed on the roster, and some of those players I kind of doubt are going to play in the FPHL. Now, they might surprise me and, hey, I'm a member of the Stockton Thunder, I'm playing, but I think some of the players are going to stick it out with their SP team or the ECHL team. Well, we'll see. Well, coming back after a year off, Peter Panachek. You know him from the Carolina Thunderbirds. Yeah, I said Carolina because he never played for the Twin City Thunderbirds. So there you go. So that was not a Freudian slip this time. Panachek, yeah, he's. I think he's a really good addition to this Stockton squad. You got Chris Mott. He played with the Athens Rock Lobsters and the Twin City Thunderbirds last year. Good depth centerman. You have Josh Slagers. Just signed his PTO at the beginning of this week. Of course, he played previously with the Bobcats. On the back end, Matthew Garcia. He's one of these defensemen that I think is greatly underappreciated. Not a lot of people really take notice of him. I watched a lot of Athens games last year. Of course, he got traded to Twin City in the Gus Ford deal. Played well there too. So yeah, it's funny. Up in Binghamton, went to a couple games, and I saw him as a Rock Lobster, and I saw him as a Thunderbird. But anyway, very solid player. And then Sam Turner, yeah, he's a great puck-moving defenseman. Can really jump up in the rush. You have in goal, you have Josh Rosenzweig and Gage Reimer. Gage Reimer was a member of the PD Ice Cats last year. Really, I think he only got in one game. Wish could have seen more, but he's got a lot of upside to him. So there's a lot of holes to fill at this point. So it's kind of hard to get a bead on this team because they've got to do a lot more signing. They may struggle on offense. They might have some issues with offensive depth unless in the next few weeks when they're signing PTOs, a lot of people come out of the woodwork and, hey, signing with the Thunder. But yeah, there's work to be done. Finally, the Topeka Scarecrows. This team was very good last year, and this is not said as a put down to Robbie Nichols. I think Robbie Nichols did a very good job as coach last year. But I think adding Ahmed Mahfouz as the coach for this year, I think that's an upgrade because I think he's going to allow the offense to be a little bit more creative. This team was fantastic on defense last year. Nichols had a defense-first mentality, and while he did have some very talented forwards scoring goals, at times they went through some dry spells. I think Mahfouz is the answer to that. So looking at their forward group, Elijah Wilson, as soon as he signed his PTO, he came on Facebook and said, I am here. I'm back. I can't wait to dress again for the Scarecrows. TJ Sneath, I did not realize until I checked the team page just last week, he is listed as player assistant coach. So there, I learned my thing new for the week. But yeah, Sneath is on board. You got Stephen Klink coming in. That is a huge, huge addition. Stephen Klink is probably one of the top 10 forwards in this league. He is phenomenal. Seems like he can almost score at will. You have Scotty Koash, who was their leading scorer last year. No reason to believe that he's going to score less this next year. Egor Filipov coming over from the Wolves. Excellent addition. Of course, you got Cam Clark, who had 3 hat tricks last year. 3? Yeah. So it's a great forward group. So again, you got 2 lines all set to go. Mix and match wherever you want to put them. But you got 6 forwards are top lines. On the back end, Gordon Whalen, he was the first defensiveman to sign his PTO and was very, very solid player. One of those guys doesn't get the headlines, but he just goes out and quietly does his job and does it very well. You have Trevor Graspy, who can score seemingly at will, especially setting up goals. He can play either defenseman or forward. You have Connor Lynn back. You have Jacob Gagnon back. So, yeah, you can get a lot of production out of the back end. Again, I think Mafuz is going to really help with the offensive production of this team. And then in goal, you got a couple of good ones. You got Sammy Bernard, who's just quietly and steadily been one of the best fed goaltenders last couple of years. And now Anton Borodkin. Let's see what he can do with some people in front of him that will actually defend, because Topeka will. He just had the misfortune last year of being on a lot of bad teams. But Borodkin, I think, is a good backup to Bernard. I think Topeka is deep at all their positions, and with them being more aggressive and more creative on the offense, with Mafuz's influence, right now, I'd give the edge to them for winning the Frontier Division. I know Fresno fans are going, oh, wait a minute. Again, I mentioned it before. Fresno, there's a lot of question marks. If everyone who signed shows up and dresses on opening night, well, yeah, maybe Fresno's going to be right up there, but right now I'm giving the edge to Topeka. That's just my picks. That concludes our show this week for the Fed Flash Face-Off. Thank you so much for watching. I know it was a longer show. Fortunately, one of the 3 things I have to cover, there's always those little timestamps down below. You go over here, click more, and then you go over here, click on the timestamp for the segment that you want to watch. If you don't have time to watch the whole video, that's quite all right. I appreciate any part that you watch. Thank you to those of you who do watch the whole thing. Very much appreciate that. All right, second thing to mention, of course, we are sponsored by SK Cards. And yep, it's just a few more days. August 31st is when they are releasing the 2nd edition of the Fed trading cards. Go to their site, scan the QR code, order. It's fantastic product. It's great. They've just partnered with the Indiana Sentinel, so they're going to be able to offer licensed cards specifically for the Sentinels and hopefully for some other teams down the road. So check them out, skcardscontact at gmail.com, and order your set of the Fed trading cards today. All right, third thing I want to cover is, again, I very much thank you for watching and tuning in. If you are interested in sponsoring a future Fed Flash Face-Off video or a segment of it, please contact me. The email is fedflash15 at gmail.com, and we can work together, set something up, and I'd love to have you as part of the show. For those of you who continue to watch and interact, thank you so much. I appreciate all the comments and questions that also get sent to me via my email address, and you can always contact me whenever. Thank you again for watching, and we will see you next time right here on the Fed Flash Face-Off. Until then, I am Gary Ryan reminding you, keep your head up, keep your stick on the ice, and you know it, be excellent to each other. Take care. We'll see you next time.